Okay, let's get on with question 4. How can consolidated billing within AWS organizations help to lower overall monthly expenses? So let's go through these in order. By providing a consolidated view of monthly billing across multiple accounts. Well, that's good. I'd like to be able to see a consolidated view of monthly billing, but does it lower my costs overall? Not exactly. By pooling usage across multiple accounts to achieve a pricing tier discount. Well, I like that one, and I believe that's the correct answer. So with AWS, with certain services, take, storage services, for example. With AWS, for certain services, there are tiers. So for instance, if you use a certain amount of storage, then you pay a certain amount. But if you go over a certain threshold, you get a reduced amount. So it's like if you use more, you pay less. So what you can do is aggregate your usage across all of the accounts, and then hopefully you'll push into those tiers where it's cheaper, and you'll get a benefit which you wouldn't have got in the individual accounts alone. So that sounds good to me. Does it automate the creation of new accounts through APIs? Well, yes, you can do that through organizations, but it doesn't lower your costs. By leveraging service control policies for centralized service management, well, you can do that as well with AWS organizations. So these are all things that are true, but they're just not related to lowering your overall monthly expense. So this is the correct one, which definitely does. So let's just check that one out. And sure enough, that's correct. And you can see that with consolidated billing, you get a few features. So you get one bill for multiple accounts. You get easy tracking, so you can look at your costs and usage data across your accounts. You get the combined usage, so you can combine usage across all your accounts in the organization, and then you get volume pricing discounts, reserved instance discounts, and savings plans. And there's no extra fee for this service, so it's a free service to use. So let's move on to the next question. And question 5 asks, which EC2 pricing model should be used to comply with per core software license requirements? So what does this really mean? So sometimes a certain vendor, let's say you're using a database on EC2, certain database vendors will charge you not just for the instance that you're running on, let's say the CPU or RAM of the instance you're running on, but they'll charge you for the amount of CPUs in the cluster, the underlying cluster of hardware that your instance could potentially run on. Now in the cloud, that can be an issue because your instance could potentially run on dozens or hundreds of servers, so that wouldn't work out. So a way you can do that is make sure that your instance can only run on a specific piece of hardware. And then you know how many cores are in that hardware, and you can sort of allocate your cores to your licensing model. So how would you do that? Well, let's have a look at a couple of options here. So we've got dedicated hosts. Well, with a dedicated host, you actually have a physical server that's dedicated to you. So that sounds like a good option because now you know that whatever instances you launch onto that, they're going to run just on that host. So that would work for the per core software license requirements. Now with on-demand, you don't get that. Your instances just run anywhere. With spot instances, you're getting a reduced cost for bidding for unused capacity. And then reserved instances just means that you're committing to a contract term to reduce your cost over time. So dedicated host looks like the right option to me. So that is the right option, and I've got a table to show you which will help you understand dedicated hosts better. Now this table compares dedicated instances to dedicated hosts. So you just need to understand at the basic level what the differences between these are. Now with dedicated instances, you actually pay per instance because you are using specific instances, but they are also shared. Now with dedicated hosts, you've got one physical server dedicated for you, so you've got to pay for that whole server. So it's per host billing. And you get this visibility into sockets, cores, and host ID. You can use affinity, which means you can define, where your instance will run on which piece of hardware. So those are the sorts of things which mean that the example scenario that we just had pushes you towards dedicated hosts. So even if dedicated instances was an option, which it wasn't, then it wouldn't have been the correct answer. The next question asks, which tool can be used to create alerts when the actual or forecasted cost of AWS services exceed a certain threshold? So we've got a few options here, and they're all cost management tools except for CloudTrail. So remember that's a auditing tool. So Cost Explorer is a way you can look at your costs, AWS Budgets is a way that you can actually specify a specific budget and then have an alert if that gets exceeded. So I like that one because, the term exceed a certain threshold kind of relates back to the budget. And cost and usage report is another way that you can sort of report on your usage of AWS services. So we're going to go ahead with this one. And the image here just shows you a sample report which has got some information related to various projects that are running. And you can see the current spend versus budgeted spend and the forecasted versus budget.